Continue our coverage. Azeem Ibrahim joins us now live from Chicago. He's the director of Newlines Institute for Strategy and Policy. Azeem, good to have you on the show. These threats from Daesh, there was always a concern that the country sort of could become a breeding ground for terrorists. The Taliban already said that it won't become a haven for terrorists, but then, do you trust these statements?
Well, the Taliban leadership has been at pains to demonstrate that this is a new Taliban and that they will not become a haven for foreign terrorist groups, particularly since they are trying to focus their entire attention on the domestic issues in Afghanistan. So it seems that they are become much more savvy in terms of trying to cater to what the West actually wants. And some of these threats that are coming from Daesh, we have to remember that Daesh, Khorasan have never had a foothold in Afghanistan, and the Taliban have actually been in conflict with them since their emergence. And so they never actually got along in the first place. So I would be very surprised if the Taliban leadership now, at this stage, will tolerate any sort of Daesh presence within their ranks.
So the focus more to be on domestic concerns. I understand. Let's talk now about what's been announced is going to be happening in the coming weeks. The rulers of the Taliban are sort of inching closer to forming a new government that's likely to happen after the final U.S. troops leave the country on August the 31st. Do you think this is going to be an exclusive government? As they've stated, what do you expect?
Well, it's too early to say, but once again, they're trying to demonstrate that they will be an inclusive government. You've seen the pictures they've met with Hamid Karzai and Abdullah. What the Taliban government actually needs at this point is technocrats and not necessarily mullahs. The United States has frozen their account at the Kabul bank. All aid has been suspended. Remember, 80% of the budget of the Afghan government was foreign aid. So the first thing they'll need to do is trying to get some of those funds released, and demonstrating that they are a new Taliban, a new inclusive, moderated Taliban will probably be the best way for them to make sure that at least some of the aid will be forthcoming, so that they can at least keep the lights on. And so it's too early to say right now, but this is obviously, they're much more sophisticated operators now, and so they are trying to demonstrate that they will be inclusive. They will be much more moderate than the previous iteration of the Taliban that we've seen in the 90s.
Okay. We played John Kirby's soundbite just a moment ago. He said the situation on the ground remains very dynamic. It's fluid. So I'm understanding things are still, they're very unclear. The fact of the matter is that many believe that the Taliban haven't shown their true face yet. The Taliban insists that they have changed. So expand on that for a little bit more.
Yeah, well, the Taliban, the leadership certainly are much more mature by the looks of it. Many of them have spent time in Qatar. Many of them have been part of foreign delegations around the globe, including to countries like China and elsewhere. Even famously, Donald Trump wanted to invite them to Camp David. So they've actually become much more mature. Now, there's also another element of the Taliban which are much younger, who are actually a little bit more militant. Now, the question is, how much control will they have over them? But the leadership seems to be quite sophisticated political and diplomatic operators now. Even now, you see that they're on, most of them are on social media. You've seen some of the video footage. Now, remember, these are technologies that were actually banned under the previous regime. The previous Taliban government would go around smashing up television stations and closing down cinemas and so on. Now they are all on social media. So they're certainly much more savvy. So how much will this actually continue once the world's attention is off Afghanistan? We simply do not know. And I think this is a question that everybody's trying to figure out right now. Is this a permanent development, or is this just something that they're, putting out there to buy sympathy from the world?
Some good points you make there. All right, Azeem, always a pleasure. Azeem Ibrahim, live for us from Chicago. Thank you very much.